Hello and welcome to this brand new video presentation. Today I am going to introduce you to a very useful and interesting script that allows us to create backdoors for remote access and control. This particular script is designed to work seamlessly on both Windows and Linux operating systems, making it quite versatile and adaptable for different environments. The script itself is very simple to use, not overly complicated or difficult to understand, and as you can see here on the screen, it contains all the necessary information, various configurations, and a wide range of options that you can utilize according to your needs and so on. So, with that said, let's get right into it and explore how it works in detail. Additionally, this script provides us with the capability to create multiple sessions, which means you can have several connections running at the same time, and it also allows you to join one session to another directly from the host machine that is currently running the session. So let's see exactly how this is done step by step. Let's take my Kali Linux machine as an example for this demonstration. I also need to have the script file itself, which I will move here into the working directory, and we will proceed to install it in a very straightforward and simple manner. So to do that, the first step is to use the git clone command. Then I copy the repository address, I copy it, paste it into the terminal and press the enter key to start the cloning process. I wait for a moment while the files are being downloaded. Then I use the cd command to enter the newly created directory. Here, as you can see, there is a requirements file present, so we need to type pip install R requirements and press enter to install all the necessary dependencies. This will ensure that everything required for the script to function properly is installed on your system. Okay, as for my Kali Linux system, the requirement is already satisfied, so it doesn't need to install anything additional at this point. Most likely, when you try it on your own computer or device, it will go ahead and install the various necessary software packages and dependencies that are required for it to work properly. So, at this stage, I simply type the command Python into the terminal and I press the enter key on my keyboard, and at this point we are now officially inside the session. Let me take a moment to show you exactly what this looks like. I'll zoom in here so you can see everything more clearly. Now if I type the command help, you'll notice that a list of available options appears on the screen. This is really useful because it shows us all the commands we can use in this session. So the very first thing we need to do is create something called generate. I'll type generate, then generate again, and once more generate, and then I press enter to execute the command. Actually, wait a second, I realize I need to show you something important first. Let's type help generate to see what options are available for the generate command. Here, for example, you can see that we have the ability to create a backdoor specifically designed for Windows systems. This is a crucial step if you're targeting a Windows machine. So what I'll do now is copy this command from the help output and paste it into the session here. Next, when it comes to setting up the connection, for localhost, we have the option to either specify the port number. In this demonstration, I'll use the port assigned to my virtual machine, but it's also possible to choose a specific IP address if needed. After configuring these settings, I press enter to proceed. At this point, the system generates our payload. This payload is essentially a script or command that we can use to establish a connection. Now, it's important to copy the entire payload. Make sure you select and copy all of it, and let me show you what happens next. I open up a PowerShell shell on my actual physical computer, which is the host machine, not the virtual one. Here it is, ready to go. If I paste the payload into this PowerShell window, there's a high probability that the antivirus software running on my host machine will detect and block it. Let's test this out. I'm going to copy the payload, paste it into PowerShell, and then press enter to run it. Now let's wait a moment and observe what happens. As soon as the antivirus software realizes that I've executed this potentially harmful command, you can see it immediately responds. It displays a message indicating that the action was blocked in PowerShell due to security concerns. Let's take a closer look at the details. The behavior is labeled as shield, which means the antivirus has actively blocked the operation. That's exactly what we expect to see for security reasons. However, our goal here is to find a way to make this payload work successfully, bypassing the antivirus protection so we can proceed with our demonstration. And here's where the cool part comes in. Here I type obfuscation. Now, as you can see, the script, the payload has changed, right? I go and copy everything again, copy and paste, and I run it again, just as I did in the previous steps. At this point, as you can see on the screen, it says session established, which means that the connection between my local machine and the remote system has been successfully created. Here it is, clearly displayed in the terminal output. If I now type the command sessions, you will see that this is the IP address of my machine, which is the virtual machine that's currently connected to the Windows operating system. The user, in this case that's me, XXX, is shown, and this is the session ID that uniquely identifies this particular session. I copy this session ID, then type the command shell, and paste the session ID into the prompt. After doing this, voila, I'm in the shell environment of the remote system. If I type edir, which is the command used in Windows to list the contents of a directory, these are the files that are present in my, in this case, in my user directory named xxx. So the username is xxx, and here they all are, listed one after another. Now, just to remind you, for example, if I wanted to copy these files from the remote computer, meaning from my Windows machine to my Linux machine, I would need to use a different approach. Here we're inside PowerShell, which is the command line interface for Windows. So the typical FTP command that you might use in a standard command prompt doesn't work in this environment because PowerShell requires specific FTP commands. But now let's try to do it for Linux, which is a different operating system with its own set of commands and procedures. So I go here, and instead of selecting Windows, I type Linux, and here it is, the Linux environment ready for use. So I copy everything as I did before, copy the necessary commands and information, then open my Ubuntu machine, which is a popular distribution of Linux, and go through the process step by step. This demonstrates how the process differs between operating systems and highlights the importance of understanding the specific commands and tools required for each environment. By following these steps carefully, you can successfully establish sessions, navigate directories, and transfer files between different systems, whether you are working with Windows or Linux. This approach ensures that you maintain control over your remote connections and can efficiently manage files across platforms, which is a valuable skill for system administrators and anyone working with multiple operating systems. I open the console or terminal, paste, and let's see what happens. Okay, this says it's not there. Now, this Linux installation is pretty clean. Sorry, I mean Linux. So it's basically missing a lot of dependencies. Alright, so let's install them. It says curl is missing, so apt install curl. It only takes a moment and then we'll try again. Paste. Okay, here we go. Session established, this time with the Linux machine. Now, just to clarify, what I mean is that the connection has been successfully made to the Linux system and we are ready to proceed. So, if I type sessions or if I write the command sessions here in the terminal, here they are. I have two sessions open. One is for Windows and the other is for Linux. Obviously, these sessions can be either temporary or permanent. It always depends on the specific objective or goal you are trying to achieve. If I type shell in this case as well, shell, this command would open a shell prompt, allowing for direct interaction with the system. Paste, and here I am inside the Linux machine. For example, CD desktop, and here I have my desktop just to see if it works. And anyway, these are the folders that belong to the user, in this case CrazyNet. These folders are created specifically for the user and contain all the files and data associated with their account. Now, it takes a bit because it's not exactly that reactive, and if you read on the GitHub page, this Python script is still in the testing phase. This means that the script is under active development, and you might notice that it doesn't always respond as quickly as a finished product would. The developers are working to improve its speed and reliability, so occasional delays or minor issues are to be expected while it is being refined. Anyway, I hope this was useful to you, that it gave you an idea of what you can do with it, what it's for, and how backdoors work. The demonstration was meant to show you the basic functionality and help you understand how to use the script in practice. Obviously, if you want to exit, just type exit yes. This is the standard command to close the program safely and make sure everything shuts down properly. Now it ends the active sessions. Perfect. If I type this, as you can see, It tells you that it enables the entire network and all IP addresses, both for receiving and sending. However, if you want to be more specific, here you can specify the port, that is, the ports, the sending and listening ports for Netcat. Then, if needed, the certificate and key file can also be specified. Here, there's the update, and you can also specify the IP, which is under Netcat, under the N option. You can specify the IP address, so it can obviously be used for remote connections as well. Okay, I think that's all for now. I hope this gave you a clear idea. If you want to try it on your computer, obviously you should test it on your virtual machines because otherwise it could be illegal. And of course we do not want that, since this video is for educational purposes only. With that said, I'll say goodbye and thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please leave a like. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel.